back. So C9 should absolutely be able to take care of business, but you have to win the games, and C9's only won half of them so far at the split.
When the game starts with winning the draft, let's see how these teams decide to go at it this time around. Zac banned away by TL, very common ban these days. Everybody knows how strong he is. While Shen and Fiora will be banned away by Cloud9, really focusing on that top lane.
Yeah, do not want to have kind of either extreme for Lourlo, where he'll be able to split push in team fight or just split push, making sure he's not on something comfortable. And those are honestly just power pick bans we're seeing from C9.
Yep, LeBlanc going to be the final one on that side. Caitlyn banned away by Team Liquid. We know the strength of that champion as well in the current state of the meta. Very, very strong in bottom lane, very strong in siege, poke, lane control. She just does it all.
Yeah, and the late game has been absurd. It's one of the only things Team Liquid has found victories on, so not wanting Sneaky to first pick it away. Otherwise, I would say Team Liquid should just leave it up each game and hope to get it on the back end, because it's been one of their cleanest paths to victory.
Well, with Syndra being the final ban of the first part of the banning phase, Cloud9 is going to go ahead and secure Galio for themselves as the first pick. Another really popular champion pick. It can be flexed between both solo lanes, has a lot of impact in the game.
Yeah, I'd imagine we're going to see it from impact, even in metas where supportive mid laners like Lourlo have been in. Jensen still hasn't played that. I don't think it's because he can't, but it's just because C9 relies on him so much to be the facilitator of their action. So this team, more than any, I would say, should be top lane, but you never know. Jensen, and Galio rather, has been played in mid lane almost more than in top lane lately.
And I mean, you mentioned it, the stats on Jensen alone, how hard he's been trying to carry lately, the performances he's putting up, even if the rest of the team may be falling a bit short, that's not the kind of guy you normally put in a support position. It's absolutely true, but Team Liquid will go ahead and grab Jhin and Renekton for themselves first round.
Yeah, a lot of CC there. The Jhin buffs, I think, a little bit unheralded coming into the patch 7.12 session, but we have been seeing much more Jhin. Even just a little bit of bump on his dancing grenade damage and a little bit of bump on his curtain call have gone a long way into bringing this guy back into meta, since the utility he brings to the team is still highly valuable. If you can compete with the other marksmen in damage, there's plenty of reasons to bring him.
Yep, seeing him more in competitive, seeing him more in solo queue. He's just all around a more popular guy. Speaking of popular, Elise has been an ever-present force in the jungle for a couple of patches now. They're going to be locking her in on the side of Cloud9, also grabbing that Kennen.
Yeah, so flex galore actually right now, because we've seen Sneaky play Kennen in the bottom lane. Impact has also been a good Kennen in the top lane, and we know Galio can go in 3 positions. So a lot of different things C9 can do with that draft, and not really giving away that much.
And this is going to make the second part of the bans really hard for Team Liquid, because they don't know exactly what roles they need to focus on. Meanwhile, they're going to lock in Rek'Sai as their final pick in the first half, making sure they secure that for the jungle, and they'll ban away Thresh.
Yeah, at this point, right, you just ban away Smoothie's support pool as much as possible. Also knowing that Team Liquid is most likely going to want to last pick a mid laner, so they're going to pinch the support pool as much as possible, take the best available for whatever matchup KonKwon and Piglet want to play, and then kind of go from there, would be what they have left as a strategy, since C9 has so much flexibility with their current roster picks.
Cassiopeia will be the ban for Cloud9 of their remaining, the first of the remaining 2, I should say, looking towards that mid lane, as Orianna's banned away by Team Liquid. And a lot of times you do see the Orianna bans coming out in this second phase because she is one of the safest picks.
Exactly. Second phase, red side, because usually you're waiting to see the final pick in the draft on red side be a mid laner, and Orianna is so good into all of the matchups that it is the best pick in those situations, and that's another thing Team Liquid has a solid ban on.
Yep. What's the point of having the counter pick if they pick something that can't really be too countered? Kind of nullifies the advantage of having that red side drafting position, as Braum will be banned off by Cloud9.
Yeah, Braum has been an interesting one because he's very much in meta, as Team Liquid actually go a different direction with this. Instead of waiting for a counter pick mid lane, they just throw in the Taliyah. Notice that the Cassiopeia has already been banned, as well as the Orianna. That still leaves the door open for a lot of assassin picks if Jensen wants to go with that, because I think that can still be very effective against the Taliyah. Even the Lucian is good against Taliyah, in my opinion, because it's very hard to land a seismic shove onto a Lucian.
Yeah, Lucian's always got the ability to use the Relentless Pursuit, get out of that highly telegraphed ability. It's quick, it's responsive, it's exactly what you need to avoid those situations. One more pick left for Cloud9, and Team Liquid leaving their last pick as the support is just incredibly unorthodox from what you would normally expect in a draft.
Yeah, I mean, if we break it down by percentage, I'd say it's less than 10% of the time, especially for Team Liquid, but they do want to play more around Piglet. They want to get a winning lane matchup. They know now that they are probably up against the Kennen and the Blitzcrank down in the bottom lane, with the Lucian going mid and then Galio going top. It's the assumption they can make. And that's an interesting one against Blitzcrank, because it's tough to devour someone who's just been hooked far away from you.
Right, and then even if you devour somebody, if he saves his pull and pulls you back, you get a 2-for-1 on the pull special.
Yes. This is... Tahm Kench has definitely seen a resurgence. You can definitely Tahm Kench someone out of Elise cocoons and such, but I'll be very interested to see how these interactions work, if KonKwon would ever be able to get a devour as a hook lands on someone, because it's not Death Sentence, it's not Thresh's hook, where it sticks and has the, basically 1.5 seconds of CC and you can just devour them out of it. Blitzcrank hook much more decisive with what it's doing.
Very instantaneous in the effects the ability has, but maybe Team Liquid's plan will work out. They need to find some way, whether it's through roster changes, draft adaptations, whatever, to get themselves on track for finding some wins here in Summer Split. Currently sitting at 1-5 after the first 3 weeks of play. Really wanting to fight their way towards that middle of the pack area.
Yeah, we're getting to see KonKwon's Summer Split debut with Team Liquid. This guy has even played with Impact before, back on Energy. He's a very fluent Korean and English speaker, which may help if there's any lingering communication issues between ReignOver, Piglet, and them, but we know ReignOver also a great bilingual communicator for these teams, so we're going to have to see if it works out.
Keep your eyes on Slooshie, because he has no easy task this game, going up against Jensen, one of the star premier mid laners of the North American LCS. We were actually having a conversation the other day about the power of the Danish mid laners in NA LCS compared to everyone else. Bjergsen, Froggen, and Jensen, the kind of stats they put up.
Yeah, we got to see that full screen graphic during the game intro here, with Jensen being at 14.5 CS differential at 10 minutes over his opponent through 14 games, which is the most of all time. But then you have Froggen sitting down there at 12.5 as well, which is the third best of all time. And that's both happening in this split. So it ends up making all of the non-Danish mid laners CS differentials look really bad, because all of the Jensens, Froggens, and Bjergsens of the league are just dominating them. And here, Slooshie coming in off the bench, essentially, having to go against Jensen, and they gave Jensen the counter pick. What are they doing to Slooshie here?
Yeah,
they're up in this lane.
They're really putting the guy in a hard spot. It's not going to be easy to work your way out of this situation, but Slooshie is going to have to play the hand he was dealt, running the exhaust in mid lane this time around. We know that Taliyah has a lot of semi-global potential with the power of the Weaver's Wall, so going for that combat summoner spell instead to maybe shut down the burst potential that could be coming out from the C9 members. The Lucian mid, exactly as you called it, that's what Jensen's going to be playing. Ignite on that for a little bit of extra kill pressure. Also an exhaust on the support for Team Liquid. They're running double exhaust compared to none on the side of Cloud9.
Yeah, and I actually do like the exhaust against both the Kennen and the Lucian. They're fairly short range marksmen. And I think they're going to get a lot of use out of those two abilities if they keep the game close.
Going to be watching Smoothie as this game goes on. Blitzcrank is, for lack of a better word, such a hit or miss support. If he hits the pulls, he's a god. He's amazing. He's just winning the game on his own. If he misses them, he's kind of a big melee minion that stands there and walks around.
Yeah, I got to talk to Smoothie earlier today about his thoughts on the support meta, because he's a guy who had such growth throughout the last split, but it was all on Karma and Lourlo, and it's hard for people to notice your success in those games. Now he's in love with the current champion pool. He said, aside from Braum, who's very good, but still quite boring. Funny that they banned Braum this game, so now he's getting to make the playmaking happen. It's all a matter of stepping up now.
Always is fun to make those plays that really make everybody go ooh and ah and really be impressed with what you're doing. But yeah, he's just getting warmed up. That's all he's doing, just getting the kinks out of the process early, making sure that when the time comes, he's going to be ready to land those later on. Jensen controlling mid lane, as would be expected. Lucian really, really strong in the laning phase against quite a lot of picks.
Yeah, and I think it's also particularly strong against Taliyah. You can have so much threat range if he goes in, but we have to watch ReignOver here on his trademark Rek'Sai.
Well, Impact has already used his dash, now going to be forced to flash away. Won't die today, but ReignOver showing up there will definitely put the lane in the favor of Lourlo. Still has flash available.
Yeah, Contractz is trying to camp that bottom lane at the same time. They'd have to land the hook.
Oh, nice pull onto the Tahm Kench, into the chain CC, into the damage. See you later. First blood over to Contractz. He decides to go right back in onto Piglet, put a little bit of extra damage on the tail end of this one. No pull available yet. It won't bring him down, but grabbing that first blood is big for C9.
Yeah, credit to Smoothie for landing that hook as well. KonKwon has to be better there of either flashing the hook or dodging the hook, because when you see the Elise there and the Blitzcrank throws out the rocket grab, if that lands, you are 100% dead, knowing that your jungler just showed in the top side. So watching this one more time, the lane is pushed. Piglet and KonKwon do not have wards in river. They want to get the CS, but they know they need to be careful. And here's a situation where KonKwon needs to be a little bit further back, but he also needs to flash that hook. Potentially perfectly played, he would have flashed behind Piglet, and then Piglet can take a cocoon. KonKwon could then be able to devour him, and they could both get away safely. That's the ideal situation, but credit to C9 for pulling off the gank and making the kill.
Yep, C9 sitting at a 1,000 gold lead now after that one. Thanks to the CS lead, they're able to build up in the middle and bottom lanes. ReignOver just trying to farm things up a little bit. We know that ReignOver has had some awesome plays on Rek'Sai in the past, but that was the old Rek'Sai. This is the newer version of Rek'Sai, intended to be more damage heavy, less team fight, powered, not having that big AoE knockup.
Yeah, and ReignOver trying to make stuff happen early. Already burned his flash in the top lane going for that gank, but now Contractz is stealing his Raptors. I mean, this is not the ReignOver that I'm used to seeing on Rek'Sai. The old ReignOver on Rek'Sai was so efficient with his pathing, would always have a level advantage on the other jungler, and therefore all of his ganks would work and be very efficient, because even if it's a 2v2, they would have more strength and win that 2v2. Here, he expended his flash on a very quick, low experience route. Now, he's behind the pace of the game, and Contractz is actually threatening his gank bars. ReignOver's getting collapsed on.
ReignOver going to be forced to run away there as Smoothie makes his way towards that invade. Jensen and Contractz keeping Slooshie away from the wave. 22 to 39 CS in the mid lane. That bullying going exactly the way we were expecting to see it go.
I mean, Jensen is averaging a 14.5 CS differential at 10 minutes on all matchups, and being able to counterpick the Lucian and then also have this jungle control that Contractz is kind of affording him, with ReignOver also burning his flash in the top lane. Like, I'm putting this lane at over-under for 25 CSD at 10 minutes for Jensen, because I'm expecting him to continue to keep pressure on.
Yeah, Contractz doing a good job there with the Spider Bite and the Smite together to make sure he stole away that Raptor as well. Doing as much counter jungling as possible, keeping ReignOver down. If ReignOver can't participate in the mid lane, that means Jensen just gets to do as he pleases up there against Lucian. Taking a little bit of damage down here bottom side from Sneaky. Even though he fell behind in farm due to the gank that happened from Contractz earlier, he's still staying pretty level for the time being.
Yeah, and that's something that Piglet has always been able to do, even when he's dying a lot in lane. He's going to be able to get his farm pretty much regardless. It's just a matter of how is Team Liquid going to make plays, because you were hoping, if you're Team Liquid, that ReignOver gets on Rek'Sai, a champion he's had so much historical success on, and controls the early game. But that just has not happened this early.
Absolutely not. When you fall behind in the early game with a composition like this, I mean, you've got these semi-global capabilities with Tahm, Kench, and Taliyah, but if you fall behind, those aren't going to be nearly as effective as if you're the one deciding the pace of the game, deciding where that action's happening.
And Slooshie can't leave lane. He actually hasn't even found a window to go back to base yet. They're still both on their Doran's items. He's already down 400 gold. And as a Taliyah, you need to have a little bit of the lane shove if you want to make a roam. And this isn't just Jensen. And these things won't actually show up in the stats book. A lot of people have this perception that Contractz camps for Jensen. But when you look at the jungle proximity stats, which is how long they spend within 2,000 units of them, he's actually below average for the NA mid laners. But what just happened there, Smoothie invaded deep with Contractz and got total coverage of the jungle where ReignOver would be. That doesn't count for jungle proximity, but it does allow Jensen to exert his 1v1 will on his opponent. So it's still a team effort, but it's very well done by C9.
Hanging around the top side, ReignOver again, seeing if he might find an opportunity here on Impact. Taunt being channeled. No success for Team Liquid. They pop the Renekton ulti, only to find nothing from it. Are they going to go any deeper is the question. Lourlo, half HP, ReignOver the same. They really want to force this out. Lourlo looking to make the flash, into the stun, into the knockup. More damage coming through, and Impact is out of there. Lourlo grabbing the kill.
Yeah, both flashes up, and as soon as they start moving up like that, Impact needed to show a little bit more respect and just back away. Don't let them get the flash jump on you to give up that kill. And they're going to go for more right here. Contractz now in the same situation. Impact was just in.
Yeah, Contractz puts himself underneath that top lane tier 1. ReignOver going to be taking the tower action for a while, drops it with the ulti, and they drop Contractz too.
That's about as big of an outplay as you're going to get on Rek'Sai. The flash, the Contractz is going for the cocoon. You throw yourself with the ultimate, go untargetable, dodge the skill shot, and end up getting the kill. Very great sequence of events right there by Team Liquid.
I do like seeing Rek'Sai players, now that the champion has been changed to have that new ultimate, use the ultimate to dodge away from things like that. Drop the turret aggro, get away from a very telegraphed skill shot. That's one thing that you can get out of skills like that essentially remove you from the map for a moment. Similar to an Elise repel, just on a much longer cooldown.
Yeah, and watching this one more time, speaking of Elise, Contractz trying to do all he can to stay alive. So he feels pretty, he thinks he should be safe. He has flash, he knows both people use flash, he knows Renekton ultimate is down, he knows they're at half health, but it's a big minion wave, and Jensen actually lost track of Taliyah. Slooshie managed to roam into the river where all of C9's wards were on the other side of the map, and Contractz gets 3v1 underneath the turret.
Very unfortunate for the Cloud9 jungler as Team Liquid manages to tie the gold count up with that kill. Doing good for themselves, utilizing those globals we were talking about. Taliyah getting the chance to finally leave the lane, but now that she's back in there, Jensen is once again going to be showing Slooshie why he wants to leave every single chance he gets. This matchup just not working out too well for him. With the Bilgewater Cutlass completed onto Jensen, that means when he dashes in, he can get that extra slow, couple extra auto attacks off.
Yeah, and also almost invalidates whatever poke Taliyah is going to get off on him. A lot of times you can throw the Unraveled Earth down and dissuade Jensen from using his Relentless Pursuit to dash through, but Jensen doesn't really care about that as much anymore since Lucian's just hoping to beat the wave away from his turret.
Sneaky and Smoothie, again, pressuring into the enemy jungle with Contractz. Blitzcrank is one of the scariest supports to do this with too. The threat of the pull, just like that, pulling ReignOver back. Now can they make anything happen from it? First call opened up, looking to fire the shots into the Cloud9 lines. As the taunt coming in from Impact, who makes his way in the fight via the TP. Heroic entrance might be a heroic exit. Seismic shove, not going to be finding the mark just yet. KonKwon back onto ReignOver, preventing the knockup. Over the wall he goes, through the pull. Sneaky dropping the ult, the stuns come out. Piglet grabbing kill number 1 onto Impact. It's another kill onto Smoothie, and Liquid will find 2 for nothing.
And that was a bloodbath, and that's the type of fight where Renekton actually really thrives. Lourlo running with his dominance that entire fight, got off a lot of damage, and Piglet still able to assist from lane with his curtain call. So an aggressive move by C9 goes a little bit awry because they were never able to quite lock down the target. Watching this again, they initially go for ReignOver, but again, he actually has a great use of his ultimate, dropping the focus, getting to the other side of Contractz. That buys enough time for the teleport to come in, and C9 ends up taking pretty much every shot from Piglet's curtain call while the teleports are completing. A little bit of a misplay right there, not getting the seismic shove onto Impact, but it allows him to keep chasing, and the continuation of that play in the mid lane.
Meanwhile, Slooshie becomes spider food as we see the very end of that play. Jensen making the dive, and Contractz coming in from behind to make sure it happens. It's going to take Cloud9 up to their second kill of the game. Still only slightly behind in gold, but this is a good omen for Team Liquid, Jatt, that they're able to take these early leads at least and pose a threat to Cloud9.
Yeah, they have made map plays, and they've gotten their advantage around the top side. That's where ReignOver used his first flash of the game and his first gank of the game, was to try and give Lourlo a bit of an upper hand into that Galio. They repeated the gank, they sent Taliyah up there, and then when he teleported down, it was beneficial. Where they have not helped is here. Slooshie in the mid lane doing his best to clear turrets. C9 still had ward control over that side, and they get an easy kill with the cocoon land.
Not only do they get the kill, they blow the exhaust from Slooshie as well. So that summoner spell not going to be around to prevent future aggro decisions coming out from Jensen or Contractz or anyone on Cloud9 who turns their attention towards this mid lane. Flash for flash. Jensen knows that ReignOver is going to be going after him. He gets away from him.
Good respect by Jensen in reading ReignOver. It's always really difficult to flash those abilities. Something Impact did not do earlier on in the game, because you don't want to flash just because someone is there. In an ideal world, you still want him to flash at the same time as you, because then that flash engage from Rek'Sai threat is lowered across the entire map. Like if ReignOver goes to the bottom lane now, he does not have flash, so Sneaky feels safe poking him with Q while he's taking out his wards.
While Contractz and Slooshie into a little bit of a fight, nowhere to land. Contractz trying to find the kill, but can't quite do it. Takes Slooshie low. but no cigar just yet.
KonKwon wants to save him.
Trying to go after Piglet here if they can. Jensen coming around from the side. Slooshie and Piglet very low in this fight. Smoothie taken down, almost dead as well. Team Liquid gets everybody out.
For as much as Slooshie is losing in CS in his lane, he is making up for it so far with his roams. He's the one who caught Contractz during that roam. He's the one that killed Contractz over in the top lane, and he also roamed earlier before. So just going in there, getting into the jungle, sneaking around, landing the combo onto Contractz, and setting up 90% of that kill before finally picking it up after the rappel is down. And then they still had their support in that side of the jungle to go and save Piglet on whatever adventure he was having.
I mean, ReignOver got what? A knock-up and an auto-attack at the very end. The rest was Slooshie. 2-1 and 2 on this Taliyah. Even though he's 50 farm down, he's had a much bigger impact on the game overall than what Jensen has done, as ReignOver gets scared back by Sneaky. The Bilgewater Cutlass being completed by him as well, both working towards that Blade of the Ruined King, just like his mid laner. Very effective at dealing with melee champions, kiting them away, keeping yourself alive and safe. And that's one thing that ReignOver is going to have to look out for. But he is going for a tanky build. Important to point that out. A lot of times these days you're seeing Rek'Sai's build warrior enchantments, build heavier damage, because that's the way that the rework was designed to make the champion tend towards. But ReignOver still wants to be that front line for his team, still wants to be that initiator, that tank.
Yeah, and I think the base damage is still really high on the Rek'Sai, so he's still going to be fairly threatening with this build. It looks like he's probably going Titanic Hydra after that, so he'll get a bit of the AD ratio. It's not going to be the full tank. We're going to get to see kind of the way these builds pan out in the future. But again, Slooshie on the roam, going to help secure this turret for Lourlo. Just that little appearance in the ward forces Impact to back off.
And Impact is so far behind now. We discussed the Cloud9 top lane situation right now and how things just aren't looking good for either Impact or Ray. And this team hasn't been any exception to that rule. Look at the gold comparison. 1,700 up for Lourlo. Cloud9 grabs themselves an Ocean Drake, but that alone is not going to bring Impact back into this game.
Exactly. Lourlo is the gold lead in this game. It's a 1,900 gold lead for the team, and as you mentioned just now, 1,700 gold lead for Lourlo over Impact. And it's going to be about utilizing that. Can they continue to keep the Rek'Sai in split-pushing situations where he can get turrets or threaten advantageous 2v2s? Because if you're thinking about late-game teamfights in this matchup, the Galio ultimate is nearly a hard counter to the Rek'Sai, plus stuff like this can happen.
Oh. Piglet is not going to have any chance to get away from that one. Doesn't even bother using summoner spells because he knows there's no way out. He's going to be seeing black and white for about 20 seconds. Cloud9 lays into that bottom lane tier 1 turret, looking to get themselves their first enemy objective of the game. The Ocean Drake already under their belts, but the gold from this turret will help keep this game close.
Yeah, equalizing that first turret down. They lose on the first turret bonus, but still a bunch of standing gold in those things. So this makes the game a whole lot closer from a scoreboard perspective.
That's a lot of what Blitzcrank can do as well. You see him land one pull like that, get some good shots out onto someone. All you need is one pull to completely take a situation that would otherwise be nothing and really turn it into something. Lourlo just farming up the enemy jungle, though. Doesn't have to worry about Impact coming to stop him, because if he does, he's like, okay, I'll farm the wolves, then I'll farm you, and I'll walk away with even more money.
The Frozen Heart Galio. Oh, does have to respect the Elise, though, for sure, because the rest of the team was right behind him. It's not the type of play you need to have if you're trying to take over the game as a Renekton.
But at least he's not dead.
Not dead. Good alive.
Not dead.
Good to flash.
Always a positive. Look at what happened bot lane here real quick.
Piglet hanging out 1v1. Literally just a Blade of the Ruined King active. Piglet gets stunned. That lines up the hook for Smoothie. And Piglet did not want to burn his flash, as Lourlo was willing to, and he died for it. Oh!
That'd be a repeating factor, but now the kill onto Slooshie in mid lane. Smoothie knows when to go for that trigger pull and finds yet another setup for his team.
Yeah, Contractz landed the cocoon, and they don't even need to commit into the turret thanks to the flash Blitzcrank hook, and this move will put C9 ahead. Back-to-back plays by Smoothie.
Disheartening for Team Liquid. They worked to get that early lead. They tried moving Slooshie around the map, tried making those different plays, and it worked for a while, but just as quickly, it goes back into Cloud9's hands. And with Sneaky pushing down this top lane tier 1, they're going to build an even larger gold lead for themselves. This could turn into a pretty big fight if they're not careful. You're going to be finding yet another pull. Piglet goes down really instantly here. It's going to be trouble as now the fight may turn. Smoothie trying to get back as they lose their jungler. Sneaky looking to fight this one out too. Impact on the front line, trying to tank for these guys. Liquid lost their turret, but they found one kill, now falling back. Piglet's ultimate down means it's very difficult for him to participate in this fight from an effective range without being in danger. Impact still on that front line, going to be forcing KonKwon to flash out, but now Slooshie's made his way into the mix.
They're all solo. Jensen has both summoners, but it's 5 people he's got to go for.
Going in, going to be exhausted. That's what you mentioned earlier. It's a good summoner spell against the Lucian with that short range. A pull onto ReignOver. Will not be finding the kill today, but KonKwon may have to sacrifice himself. He will not. And Team Liquid gets everyone out.
They just would not die in that extended engagement from the very start. Piglet healed after he got hooked and then kind of had the perfect Jhin open, being able to curtain call from the back. Is I actually like the play by C9 right there. Landed the cocoon into a hook once again, but they didn't quite have the burst damage. ReignOver actually knocked up Sneaky, stopped his auto attacks, kept Piglet alive. And then ReignOver goes back in, has had great use out of that Rek'Sai ultimate pretty much this entire game. And look how far away Jensen was. He had 2 options here. He could have pushed up the mid turret while they're kiting back, or he could roam up. He ends up roaming up, burns both summoners, doesn't get anything, and ultimately cannot be effective in that fight.
Cloud9 will get themselves the Rift Herald just in time, because it's going to be despawning very, very soon, but have to see how they can use that. Rift Herald itself, remember, just picking it up doesn't really get you a lot. You just get 25 gold for killing the thing, a little bit of EXP, so yeah, it's all about using it to get a turret afterwards, or get some kind of map pressure, get control elsewhere, spawn it in top lane, go bottom, spawn it in bottom lane, go top. Different ways you can use it. See what Cloud9 goes for. Infernal Drake is going to be live in a little over a minute, so expect some contest for that.
Very true, and this could be a big swing point in the game if C9 can get a pick with Smoothie's rocket grab. That then lowers the defenses with which the Rift Herald can go bust down a turret, because the longer we've seen Rift Herald, the better we've actually seen teams get at defending it, and it doesn't seem like people are really finding ways to innovate the ways they attack with it. You're basically getting the first charge off, and then it's dead. Time and time again is what we're seeing. They're going for Contractz, though.
Trying to find the pick onto him if they can. Lucian going to be brought in with KonKwon. Nope, no kill today, but taking Contractz down to half HP will force him away for the time being. Look at the amount of wards placed down by Team Liquid in this bottom part of the river. Really looking to set up in earnest for this Infernal Drake fight.
And they still have more control wards in their inventory. The difficulty here is, we mentioned that Lourlo is the Team Liquid gold lead. He is not controlling the Drake with them right now, so it's actually advantage C9 in the 4v4.
Lourlo will have to have a big role in these team fights for Team Liquid to find wins. Impact will do whatever he can, even though he's behind, to channel those taunts, find those knockups. Nice part about being a tank, you don't need to be ahead in gold to still have that functionality to still be useful. Heal for Sneaky or Jensen as well. Cloud9 has moved into the territory previously claimed by Liquid. Now Sneaky going in on Lourlo, able to find some nice DC, some nice damage.
Wow.
And that ahead proc is now completely out of the fight. ReignOver almost going to be taken down. KonKwon trying to get him to safety, but Sneaky's looking to flash forward, make this one his own. He gets taken down by Slooshie, who throws another rock right into the Cloud9 forces. But it's still a 3-for-1, and Cloud9 finds their fight.
What a fight for them right there, being able to initiate onto the strongest player of Team Liquid, and Team Liquid really just not being there to take the fight. They had no distraction for all 5 people to just wail on Lourlo and take him down, and then it had to be a full retreat for Team Liquid after that.
And the way you build these top lane bruises these days, Jatt, it's cookie cutter all the time. You've got a Black Cleaver, you got a Titanic Hydra, that doesn't make you tanky enough to survive this.
Yeah, usually the Renekton ultimate keeps him a little bit alive, but just the double blade of the Ruined Kings when he has pretty much no armor in his build. He's gone Merc Treads against the Galio's magic damage. They shred him down in no time. Sneaky channeling AP Kennen just to get the stun. Galio can't quite save him, but it's still worth it for the chase down they got.
And the Ignite from Smoothie onto Lourlo as well to make sure he couldn't heal. Your fed Renekton, your entire gold lead, did 118 damage in that team fight. Less than, I think, what was a Prey Seeker from Rek'Sai. Not what Team Liquid needed to find any kind of a win. 2,700 damage from Slooshie, though, doing everything he can to try to put his own advantages to work here. The Andrew's Torment, Morello Nomicon done for him means his spells do pack quite a punch. But with Jensen up to 3-0, with Sneaky on 2-1 and 3, both these guys having 2 items completed, he's under a lot of threat.
Dude, he's down 80 CS. He's going to get a 100 CS disadvantage at some point in this game based on the current trends. And also knowing how much post 15-minute CS Jensen generally takes in games, he's always running for that free wave.
Jensen's definitely going to be padding those stats after this.
Oh my goodness, he's been stat padding the whole split, but in a sense, just by dominating people, it looks like he's stat padding sometimes when you check the numbers afterwards.
Rift Herald finally summoned. The clock was running low. They were going to have to do it eventually, so they decided to just bust her out right now as Slooshie and Lourlo will zone impact away bottom side. Looking to maybe trade here, but the problem is Cloud9 is pushing down both mid and top lanes. ReignOver and Piglet will be defending mid, but that headbutt really, really stings. Sneaky going to be knocked up. ReignOver trying to start this fight. Smoothie running off to the side, but they've collapsed onto the Kennen, looking to find the damage to the Jhin ultimate. The shots are going to miss at the start, and it will be ReignOver who takes the kill credit. They try to give that one over to Piglet, but after he misses the first 2, ReignOver says, nope, I'm just doing this myself.
Yep.
Grabs it and walks away.
Yeah, but I also say C9 won that easily. They got 2 turrets. The kills they ran down on for Sneaky was answered by that push in the top lane, so they're gone right now. I also am curious if C9 is going to try and 4v5 this one. Got to be a little careful. Lourlo should TP in.
Impact starting to fight off. Smoothie still got the full available. Going to be bringing KonKwon in, trying to burst that Kench before he can save anyone. They find that mark, but can they get anyone else? Jensen still full HP, stepping on the Jhin trap. Impact wanting to go back into the fight if he can. No flash available. Already used that one earlier. Smoothie still looking to chase them down if he can. Flash into the pole, able to find it onto Slooshie, and Jensen is unstoppable. As Cloud9 has found themselves 2 in that 4v5, not afraid of the numbers disadvantage. They'll now be pushing down the mid lane into the inhibitor turret. Taking that one down, no problem whatsoever. Lourlo, ReignOver, and Piglet not in any condition to fight for this. And the inhibitor itself is going to fall too.
Yeah, it took 24 minutes. Jensen's now 110 CS up on Slooshie. Mind you, Lourlo is 80 CS up on Impact. Here's another fight.
ReignOver wanting to go in on this one. Impact is still very, very tanky despite how behind he is. And again, KonKwon has to save ReignOver, but there's your 2-for-1 deal. KonKwon and ReignOver both at death's door, trying to get away from this one. Piglet almost gets hit by the cocoon. Lourlo tanks that one instead. Cloud9 decides there's nothing here that's left worth fighting over. They bail.
Yeah, Jensen out of mana, could no longer pursue relentlessly towards Team Liquid. And I do want to talk a little bit about the difference between Jensen's CS advantage and Lourlo's CS advantage, because it's how you use the CS, not about the CS itself. Watching this fight one more time, Lourlo needs to be there 5 seconds ago, not when this fight starts, because by the time he enters the fight, KonKwon and Piglet are already pushed out, and Lourlo never gets to use his goalie. He's not finding ways in this fight, whereas Jensen is continually moving forward and finishing off these kills. So it's not just on the players, it is how the teams are playing around it.
Team Liquid getting caught out there, stuck between a rock and a hard place, and a Galio with a taunt fully channeled means that Lourlo just never had the chance to get in time. Excellent play from Cloud9 as a team, showing exactly what they need to be demonstrating if they want to prove themselves to be a top half team, if they want to prove themselves to truly be in contention for that #1 spot here in Summer Split. 46,000 to 42,000 gold, modest lead, but not terribly modest for themselves. 4,000 is still pretty scary 26 minutes into the game. Sneaky trying to get away from that Weaver's wall, barely gets himself onto the other side as KonKwon was arriving with ReignOver.
Yeah, and I also want to quickly point out the strength of Galio in this particular C9 team composition, because they don't necessarily have a Galio delivery system like you often say you have, but he stuffs so much of what Team Liquid want to do in this team composition. Renekton and Rek'Sai, I would classify as divers. They're both in and then they're in. They either kill you or they don't. So whoever they choose to go in on, that's when Impact uses Galio ult, giving them 50% damage reduction and pretty much a guaranteed knockup. So whenever ReignOver and Lourlo want to go in, Impact flies in with the damage reduction and the Frozen Heart to hurt their attack speed. So no matter how far behind he is, unless Lourlo is killing him or taking turrets, Impact is actually better in team fights than the Renekton, even though he's down 2,000 gold.
I mean, we've seen him play such a role so far. Every single fight, he's knocking people up into the air. He's finding taunts onto multiple Team Liquid members. He's doing a good job here. Contractz, Sneaky, and Jensen are all hanging out, trying to stay away from the brush and stay perfectly still to avoid the Rek'Sai tremor sense, but...
Well, that's big. No one moved.
Everybody's just staying still.
Unfortunately, the wards still see you even if you don't move.
Yep. That's not like a dinosaur. You can't just stay perfectly still and hope that it walks by, but now they're trying to go. Not fight at anything just yet. Is it bad that I was watching the display and wondering if it disconnected there for a good 5 seconds?
Well, I didn't even see the ward. The observers zoomed in to show the skill people and then just panned over slowly to the vision like, yeah, that's what Team Liquid sees. Everyone, clear as day.
I thought we were going to be heading into a sepia tone real quick and going into a pause, but luckily it was just Cloud9 trying to be sneaky and it didn't work too well for him as ReignOver tries to creep into the Baron pit, only to see a control ward sitting there from his opponents and deciding that's not the best plan.
Yeah, we're trying to pull a fast one while C9 goes for the Drake, which makes Baron faster.
Cloud9's just got a nice little barrage sale of Drakes now. They got one Infernal, one Ocean, one Mountain, collecting a little bit of everything.
Yep. No Clouds today, except for 9 of them in the team name. So,
God.
I get one of those per year. That's all I allow myself.
You just spent it right here.
It's over. Not worth it.
One per year.
But I did it. There's no going back.
It's done. Impact still just trying to farm up as much as he can. He's got 2 tank items completed. Frozen Heart and Spirit Visage actually makes him pretty damn hard to kill when you couple it, combine it, I should say, with the taunt damage reduction that he gets from channeling that ability. Jensen will continue building that CS lead he has up over Slooshie. 318 farm, 28 minutes into the game. That's not even a normal level of farm. That is just above and beyond ridiculousness in terms of how well he's building his economy.
Yeah, Jensen historically topped the league in CS per minute. Generally, no one goes above 10 as far as general averages go. Jensen usually is right on the cusp of that, though. He's around 9.9, 9.7 almost every split. This game, above it, around 11 CS per minute so far.
Game's still 9-9, though. 4,500 gold separating the two teams. Still very possible for Liquid to find a win in a team fight. But they really, like you mentioned earlier, Jatt, have to have Lourlo in the clutch position for the entirety of it if they want a chance to walk away with the W in one of these.
Yeah, and at this point, I do feel like Renekton has fallen off relatively substantially. Level 16 is big for him because the health on his ultimate actually doubles between rank 2 and rank 3. One of the few skill ups that scale multiplicatively rather than linearly in the game. But that doesn't actually do that much for Renekton since his kit still is pretty all in that sense.
Cloud9 wanting to start up Baron, but not far ahead enough to really be comfortable doing that with Liquid having eyes on them and being right there. They still have their tier 1 standing here in the mid lane. 6 turrets compared to 1 in the objective count so far this game. So much of the Cloud9 lead is built on the back of those objectives, but ReignOver now trying to go in on Contractz. Deadly Flourish coming out, Root comes down, Contractz is going to make his way out if he can, but the stun comes out and the Spider is squashed. Liquid finds their pick.
Good pick, and the team played fairly well around it, but the question is, what do you do after that?
Well, you open up the curtain call, fire off the tongue, ReignOver coming in from behind, looking to get the knockup if he can. Instead, he's just going to be stunned up and bursted down. Impact grabbing the kill credit onto that one. Slooshie gobbled up by the Kench, trying to pop the thick skin. He's the sacrificial lamb, and Jensen is dominating.
No junglers on either side. Slooshie down flash, Lourlo down ultimate, and Jensen will continue to press.
Jensen is bloodthirsty, chasing after Piglet. The Jhin has both summoner spells, but when you're up against a Lucian who has 3.5 items and is 3 levels up on you, you run away and you don't look back.
Yeah, he's going off this game, that's for sure. Sub out the mid laner against best mid laner in the league, and he will make you pay.
Impact caught out a little bit here, but he's just so tanky. The 4th shot from Piglet doesn't even put that much of a dent in.
No, I mean, no Last Whisper or Void Stab. So all the resistances that Impact has built up right now, there's nothing working against that. The 240 armor is making him deal about 1/4 of his normal damage against him.
Liquid wants to try to punish Cloud9 after their Baron take. Impact at about half HP. Smoothie can stay the same. Liquid still wanting to get in here if they can. Still looking to make those moves. ReignOver with the flash into the knockup. And they find Impact. The root comes out. Shield comes out. Impact up the wall with the flash. Staying alive for now. ReignOver comes through with the ulti. Not able to find the kill. It's turned around. And Jensen is godlike. Smoothie getting the pull over the wall. They're going to bring Lourlo right back in. And he is a pair of alligator boots. Team Liquid loses 2.
And this game going from bad to worse. You can see the interactions of the team compositions and the communication from C9 of when to turn it around. As they were retreating, Sneaky was cut off, so he had to run towards the top side of the lane. So you're kind of thinking they're going to turn it around at any moment. We're going to get to see this one more time as the Tahm Kench joins the fight. But you can see Sneaky ends up actually going off around the top side. So you kind of want C9 to turn this around because you think they're so far ahead, but they don't because Sneaky's not there. Impact does his best to zone, gets the large curve to the Colossus shield, but then when ReignOver goes in, they actually say to turn it around. Sneaky was trying to sneak off with a recall, decides to come back in. At this point, another clutch hook, doesn't matter who Smoothie hits because the fight is turning. He also gets the shield when he lands the CC, and another double kill picked up for Jensen.
That just means the momentum continues to fall into Cloud9's lap as they'll push now towards this bottom lane. Remember, mid lane inhibitor is already in ruins. Bottom lane will now be in a similar situation. Team Liquid just can't do anything to defend a base that's quickly falling to pieces. Cloud9, 5 men strong, Baron buffed up, pushing towards the Nexus, wanting to end game 1. Nexus turret number 1 already down. Impact channeling that taunt, threatening anyone from Liquid that may look to come forward. Slooshie caught out, bursted down. ReignOver going to be second, airborne. Gobbled up, but I don't know if he's getting away anytime soon. They both fall, 2 dead, 3 dead on the side of Liquid. A double kill for Sneaky as Lourlo goes down, throws a double kill in the way of Jensen, and Cloud9 will take down Team Liquid in game number 1.
Yeah, once they were scaling up, you could really just see that team competition take work. Trying to get the Piglet's giving them one.
Trying to bait him into the fountain laser, it's not going to be good enough. Cloud9, victory, game number 1.
Yeah, huge games. Particularly, I would say, from Smoothie and from Jensen. Smoothie started the majority of those fights or turned them around at just the right moment with Blitzcrank, 14 out of 17 kill participations. But then Jensen, man, 120 CS up, pretty much from 22 minutes onward, and also 15 of the 17 kills for the team. So It wasn't like he was just off farming. He was farming and killing the champion, so great game.
Yeah, we were comparing Jensen's performance to Slooshie's performance early on in the game, saying, man, Slooshie's been all over the map. He's getting Team Liquid off to a good start. Jensen was 0-0-1 when Slooshie was 2-1-2. And then all of a sudden, Jensen's like, okay, I'm done farming. Now the game starts. And he just put so much damage out throughout the course of all those fights.
Yeah, once he got Blade of the Ruin King and Black Cleaver, he really just turned on. Did lead the team in damage, but Sneaky was pretty close on that one. 27,000 damage from Jensen, but mainly it was the CS and the lane dominance he had once they started cascading those turrets down.
And you mentioned it, it was a lot about the team composition as well. Between the enemy Renekton falling off, the big advantage for Team Liquid, we mentioned time and again, was Lourlo's advantage over Impact. But as the game goes on, you mentioned how effective Impact's job was at keeping Cloud9 going, and Lourlo just couldn't do anything.
Lourlo could not get into those fights, and part of it is because the rest of C9 was still pretty ahead, and another part of it was they were just never finding the right fights. Looking at the draft, like, it's not particularly disastrous for Team Liquid, but I still like C9's draft more, mainly because the Tahm Kench Blitzcrank switch around where they early picked the Taliyah didn't make any sense to me from Team Liquid. I would have rather they waited for the counter pick for the guy they're subbing in. And then ReignOver would have needed to take that game over early on in the game, but was never really able to get a snowball going. And then once you saw the team fights happen, the Rek'Sai Renekton could not deal with the Kennen Galio team fight.
Yeah, a good example of those fights that we're talking about. 21 minutes in, Cloud9, a 3-for-1 here in the mid lane.
Yeah, and this is one where it is them just picking off Lourlo. This is the front line for Team Liquid, so they needed to snowball before that point for the most part. No damage done by the Rek'Sai or the Renekton in this fight, and everyone else on C9 is just able to free hit, but even at the end, Impact acts as a frontline damage soak even from the back because he made it so it takes much longer for Sneaky to finish him off, and you got to see that gold lead. Once he got going, there was no stopping it.
Yeah, just a little red puddle in that gold difference over time for the brief moments where Team Liquid were able to find themselves a lead, but as soon as they lost that lead, man, it just went straight up to Cloud9.
Exactly. Team Liquid, even though they're 1-5, have been able to make plays at times, but it's about stringing the plays together into a cohesive game. That's where they've been lacking.
And that's what Cloud9 demonstrated they were able to do. That's what a good team can do, and that's what they're going to need to do in game number 2. We'll see if Team Liquid can even up the score when we come back for that game number 2 against Cloud9 as we go to the break.